Okay.
Okay, we're live. Hello, everybody. Happy Wednesday, hump day. So my camera's acting up again, and I'm gonna kill it. How's everybody doing? And what's everybody doing? Simon?
Yes, doing fine, thank you. This week I've mostly been building my personal site, rebuilding it using Eleventy, and spent the last couple of days recreating all my posts, which is great fun. It's given me some sort of like some vibes from sort of the turn of the century, getting in and doing some hand coding, and but I just absolutely loving what I'm doing at the moment. There's no CMS involved at all. It's just spitting out flat HTML.
Great.
It just generates it on the fly in, and I haven't done anything yet to speed it up or anything, and I've just run some lighthouse checks on it today, and the speed's at 98. And I was 100. I had a couple of SEO things and a couple of accessibility things to sort out. It's
straight HTML. It's going to start out pretty quick. Yeah.
No database connections.
No, nothing, because you're generating it all in using Eleventy, and that as you create bits and pieces, add new bits in, it just goes and generates a flat file site, which then I deploy to GitHub, and then that automatically deploys out to Netlify. So it just updates.
Yeah, I used to build sites like that. Only I'd use ASP, but it'd churn out HTML pages.
Yeah, exactly.
So what is 11Zs?
It's JavaScript. I really do hate JavaScript, but what the JavaScript's doing is it's not building stuff on the page, it's actually creating the pages for you. So the back end of it is JavaScript, but it runs a little server, so you can run it locally, and it does the page builds. But there's no JavaScript in the final stuff at all. So it's 11t dot something.
Okay.
I'll look it up.
I was just curious. Coding is not my. I stopped in 1987, so you know.
So the browser doesn't even see the presence of any Java, huh?
Not at all.
So it only sees the HTML. Wow.
Cool.
Yeah.
How about you, Sarah? What are you up to?
I'm not doing any coding. I put together a big, it's like, I think it's about 10,000 word article, and I'm today and tomorrow editing and fine tuning. It was a big project, and meanwhile doing smaller articles. I'm writing, nothing new.
Jerry?
Well, I finished a plugin. Right now, it just figures out the most popular posts on a site, and you can post it anywhere.
Handy.
So it's like, I don't like the sticky thing that WordPress gives. So this, you could put it anywhere where you just drop the code in, and it makes a 3-box thing, or you can increase that too, but it'll make it 3 wide on the page.
Nice.
It's nice, and that was the start. Now, what I've been working on for a year, I'll be able to take all of that stuff and just drop it into it, and it should all work. So then I'll have a full-on SEO plugin doing the schema, all that stuff. Not full schema for all that Google does, mainly just for like article and organization, the ones that are the most important for Google, unless you have FAQ or question and answer, some other rich type of result, but that would easily be added. And the plugin also fixes most of what I don't like about the WordPress core.
Weren't you building a lot of the schema into your custom theme as well?
Yep, but then I realized you can't do that.
Huh?
You cannot add any kind of functionality to a theme. It's got to be in a plugin
And is that because of,
so that people aren't tied to a theme for their plugin.
but you couldn't make it with an on-off switch, an optional? I mean, like, for instance, Jetpack is part of the core now, and it's got like 54 different
It
default
better not
on.
be, because every site I come upon that, it's the first thing I turn on.
Well, I shouldn't say it's part of the core. It is, by default, it's included with a brand new download and install and turned on. And all of the options
It
are,
would get deleted as soon as it showed up in the
I do
plugin
too,
folder,
yeah.
believe me.
but I thought that, because they were able to do some things that are set up that can be turned off in the core. I would have thought that you say you can't do it because of functionality, or you can't do it because it's not allowed?
Oh, it's allowed. Like, I don't have to tell people where all my RSS feeds are. That's stupid.
No?
Why would you do that? It's stupid. If I want you to know, I'll tell you. Right? That's like saying, yeah, come and take all my content. Here's a nice big thing. Just hook up to it. Yeah. Of course, I used to hook it up to Tumblr and a few other places, but that's a whole different story.
Well, I haven't seen all the dialogue about Chat GPT dying down at all yet, which is
No, it's still going on.
aggravating.
Get used to it.
I'm getting tired of it.
But I actually took the time to find out what the GPT stood for by looking at how you program it. Most of these people don't have a clue what they're talking about, period. You have to look at the nuts and bolts to really understand it. They don't have a clue what they're dealing with.
Well, I throw myself in that pot because I haven't even played with it, and I have no desire to play with it yet.
That's right. You're probably the smartest of the bunch.
Just keep me away from that.
Oh, my belief is, like, just when an update comes from Microsoft, I never update it
Oh, no.
right away. I
A
wait
couple
and see
weeks.
how many how many people complain about it, and then I install it.
Or a new version of Windows.
Oh, gosh.
I've never had an issue with that.
Oh, God,
And you
I
can
have.
roll those back easily. So
Oh, yeah, you can roll it back, but it's just, one more time sink.
I've
Time
never had
sink,
to do
yeah.
that.
I allowed Millennium.
Oh, okay. That was a version that my brother looked at me and he said, "Don't even bother.
Well, there was
Don't even bother."
there was no meat on the bones, no, but it was slow as molasses in January.
Well, it took what was the version before? It replaced.
I don't know, but it was a piece of crap. I can't remember the name of it now.
The professional. There was a professional one, and it basically was supposed to replace.
Well, XP Pro was dynamite. I ran that for
That
years.
was the one that it replaced, and my brother said, "Don't do it."
Oh, XP Pro rocked. I love that. I ran that.
Yeah, I used it.
I even ran that for about a year after the end of life, when they no longer supported it. And now I'm running 10, and I'm bound determined I am not going to use 11 because I have heard nothing good about it. I mean, I'm at the point right now, if they don't come out with 12 and it doesn't rock before this 10 is totally off the board, I may go Apple.
Have you got what used to be called 365 or whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, it's updating the OS too.
yeah.
So you're using the new one, whether you know it or
No,
not.
I'm still running 10.
Oh, are you?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You mean the
Yeah.
browser or the OS?
No, the OS, Windows 10.
Wow. I just let it all update. I never noticed any problems at all.
I have heard some, I haven't tried 11 myself, but I have heard some horror stories. The biggest problem I've heard is it is really slow for onboard things, like if you're running a scanning tool or running a crawler, that it just bogs down and it doesn't give you the level of control to shut down peripheral functions to free up processor.
Yeah, that's
right there. I don't like that.
Max. But then you have to give that to each program on your machine, which never made sense to me. You know what, Doc? I'm not that good of a judge, really, because my brother's a networking, administrator for Windows.
I wouldn't mind.
Don't allow me to touch that guy.
I wouldn't mind cloning Bill and putting a copy of him here in my back room.
Yeah, really, it makes makes things a lot easier, because he also, when I buy a computer, he knows exactly what I'm going to do with it. And, like he was a kid when he first got interested in computers. He was still in high school, he had an 18 phone line BBS.
Oof.
Yeah, my father couldn't figure out what he said. What the hell is that kid doing in there? Yeah, it was something else. He had to take a job to support it. But, he's the only guy who knows a network administrator with a grade 8 education. What does that tell you about schooling and computers?
Well,
the doing is more important than the learning.
Well, the problem, I think the big part of the problem is the fact that, first of all, by the time somebody becomes sufficiently competent in some portion of IT to be able to teach it, the shit's changed 5 times. It's outgrown even that. And I know that I've seen students that by the time they finished a semester, the cutting edge information that they learned at the beginning of the semester was now invalid by the end of that same semester. And it's it's accelerating. Okay. So I don't know how in the world you can put together a meaningful course on, you can teach JavaScript, you can teach general marketing, you can teach a lot of aspects of what we do, but you can't teach, for instance, SEO as a broad scope thing, because so many aspects of it change constantly.
Isn't that what Jeff does?
Well, yeah, he's teaching some, I don't remember now exactly.
Teaching something at UCLA.
Yeah, but I don't remember exactly what he's named the course, but I don't recall it. But it's basically SEO related at the very least. It may be digital marketing. I don't know.
Yeah, part of a marketing program.
It's just, things change. It's not like medicine, which changes pretty quickly too, but not as quickly as the internet and acceptable practices and things like security. How would you teach internet security on a meaningful fashion? Because as fast as somebody comes out with a fix for some sort of a breach, there's another hacker out there that's just as smarter that comes up with a way to breach that fix. And new methods. And now with AI, oh shit. I really sweat when somebody successfully manages to apply a halfway decent AI algorithm to finding vulnerabilities on a site or on a server or even in a program. It's just, I think because it's going to speed it up dramatically. And they're already, they throw 50,000 bots at a site, they can find it relatively quickly. Now turn an AI loose on it, and that just add a 0 or 2. It's concerning.
Yeah.
And then somebody will take another AI and find out a way to block that breach and reinforce it. It's just a never-ending battle. Anyhow, I was noticing this morning that ChatGPT is still a major topic of discussion. And, to kind of parrot something you said, a lot of people are just spouting a bunch of crap they saw in somebody's blog post. They have no clue what they're talking about. And I don't claim to be an expert on it, but then I'm not talking about it,
Yeah, but okay. I thought I knew quite a bit about it. And I think I knew probably as much or more than most of the people talking about it. And I'm a programmer. And when I went and saw how that stuff actually works, these people don't really have a clue what they're talking about. You learn it when you start seeing how it's programmed and what each part of the programming does. It's mind-boggling what it will be able to do as it gets bigger. And just think, as the computing power behind that gets better and better, I could see something like Skynet happening, and I think that's what makes people like Google a little, saying, hey, let's be careful about what we're doing here.
Well, I would hope that they're being careful. Yeah. It's definitely a novelty, it's
Well, it feels
whole
like
entirely different from anything we've seen in the past.
Well, I think that's why they freaked out when one of their engineers said, "Oh, I think this thing is sentient."
It's sentient,
what? Come on.
Not yet. I did an experiment the other day and I asked it to write my bio, right?
That's a different, this is Google's. Nobody's really seen.
Google. I haven't seen Google's.
Yeah, it's called Lambda, isn't it?
Right,
Yep.
I think so.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then but I think they're giving it like a different name. I mean, for general consumption, Lambda is the thing.
Oh, yeah, they've had AI on their cloud for, quite a while, because I believe I saw some summarizing stuff over a year ago. And one of the programs that I use in the cloud, I don't pay for it, I go and use their demo, is I'll grab text off a page and drop it into their, I call it a BERT emulator.
Okay.
But what it's doing is pulling the named entities right out of the text, telling you what their function is. So organization, person, whatsoever, location, the important stuff. And when you flip another tab, it tells you the sentiment, and you hit another tab and it tells you how they've categorized it. Very interesting stuff. And yet when I talk about it, no one seems very interested in looking at it. But every time I optimize a page, I go and look at what's being done. Then I go and write it. Then I compare what I did to what is already ranking, and worked every time. Not a lot of times, but it's worked every time. And why? The basic premise is co-occurrence. That's how they determine relevancy now. They don't care about, let's not. The number of times a keyword keyword is a better thing in this sense. One of the things that Bill and I think we talked about it here too, that Bill and I talked a lot about was when that paper, which I tried to find and can't, maybe someone here will remember it. It was some Googlers wrote a paper about after, as they crawled, they would put all the words, good words, into what was basically a bag of words.
A bag of words, yep.
Right. And then they use another, not entity stuff, but just basically counting the repeats of a word. What Bill used to know the few different ways, IDF something. Yeah, we were pretty sure that every page is re-ranked, but we didn't. Well, he was he was more skeptical. I was pretty sure that that's what they were doing. And because I'd seen where they'll put stuff directly in the results, like within minutes, using QDF. And if there's, the thing is, people don't realize Google knows what categories have no content. That's why they made an application for people to give people prompts on what they want written. Guess where it'll be, folks? In the queries that there's no content for. That makes sense. And yeah. So when you write something good in that, right, they count the keyword matches. And the less competitive, the more value it is. You'll start at the top and stay there. And, when I looked at the sites that I was beating for semantic SEO audit was, who's who. And only because I was the only one who actually was writing about an SEO audit. It wasn't a general SEO audit or a how to rank using semantic SEO, because there's more about that than there was about actually doing audits. So that's how you identify. That's low-hanging fruit. Doesn't get any lower than that. That's it's falling off the tree right into your basket. All you have to do is go over and pick up the basket.
Well, it's just like, how often do we all hear about people saying, well, Google can't do that. They can't know that. Yeah, right.
Hey, understand how things work. They don't download pages. They open what's called a buffer protocol. If you understand what a buffer protocol is, it's basically they take all the characters and analyze them as they're putting them in, as they're bringing them in. Pretty simple. So that would be.
And that's where vectors come into play.
Right.
That's where vector analysis comes into play.
You're right. That's right. That's where all that comes from. And in the case of GPT, they're tokenizing them, which is a different programming method. That's what I found really interesting in it, Simon. I'll show, did you see the link I passed about that? The link came from Dave Davies, who's now gone from SEO to AI, who's a guy I really want to interview. So, to get his thoughts on it all. Someone who's been working with AI and SEO for more than a day.
Well, Dave is very accessible.
Dave is Dave is a guy that I have a lot of respect for, especially after I spent an evening watching him drink and talk.
Yeah, he's a sharp cookie for sure.
Oh, definitely.
But he's definitely accessible. I mean, you ought to just reach out to him and
he's
interview
a busy man.
Yeah, he is.
He's running an agency with his wife as well.
Yeah.
So he's a busy man. And I think he's actually tomorrow is his final show on Webcology.
Oh, really? I didn't realize that.
he's starting to do a podcast on AI for the company he's working for now.
Mm.
I wasn't aware that he was leaving webcology. That's a loss.
That's not a really well-known thing. I got asked to come on the show, and
Cool.
I've been on that show and interviewed by them too quite a bit. Me and Jim are really good buddies since we're in the same city and have worked on projects together. So
Another guy out there who I have a tremendous amount of respect for is Steve Wiedemann. I don't know that he has really worked much in AI at all. I don't know, but he has a lot of knowledge about various aspects of SEO, from the technicals on to locally heavy into local stuff. Very, very sharp. And also very accessible.
Yeah, I quit really following people probably over a decade ago. I had enough trouble following the people that I actually knew and knew I could trust them.
Well, I follow quite a few simply because I have found that they're knowledgeable in some area, and Facebook is a time sink for sure, but I often pick up some really interesting tidbits, especially in some of the groups. And I don't pay a lot of attention to the folks that obviously don't know what they're talking about. They get an unfollow pretty quick. If I am following them, they get unfollowed.
The new people that I've followed now are on Twitter. Some of them are people, let's just say I like to correct them. Some people like Lily, I really I enjoy her analysis.
I do too.
She's a sharp cookie.
Enjoyable.
Absolutely.
And really picked up on that when Bill and I did an interview with her. I realized then that someone I might want to pay more attention.
Oh, absolutely.
And Darth Nah, I don't know who he is, but
who's that?
Darth Nah.
Lyndon DA. Nobody knows who
Lyndon.
he is.
Yeah, Lyndon Ancliffe.
Yeah.
No, don't. Oh, wow. Oh, okay. That's a good thing to know. I know that name for sure.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's Lyndon Ancliffe, isn't it, Simon?
I don't think it is.
You don't think so? Oh, maybe not.
No.
The guy's too technical to be that person. I see him as more of a promo guy who will go to any lengths. That's just my opinion.
Well, I follow Lyndon DA. I was under the impression it was Lyndon Ancliffe. I must be wrong.
No, he even wears a mask on the shows when he does interviews.
Don't think I've ever seen any of his shows.
So once
interviews.
Yeah. But I can tell by his posts that he's been around a long time, seen a lot of stuff. Yeah. And always has good comments.
He was certainly on Google Plus in the early days, and a few of the forums as well, because he brings it up. He mentioned it several years ago, but I also know he's on somewhere on the south coast of the UK. From little bits and pieces.
Some of his speech patterns I recognized as being UK, just by terms he used that.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, it's somebody I'd like to meet. Just find out who it
Yes,
was.
definitely.
Ammon, actually, it was a couple of years ago. Ammon actually came up to me and said, "Oh no, he didn't say it to me. He said it to Shelley that he knew who he was, but it turned out it was bullshit."
That doesn't surprise me. Well, in the early days, Ammon was one of the people who was very approachable, would be how I would put it.
Yep.
Yeah, it was.
Ammon's one of the first people I started following heavily when I decided that SEO was something I wanted to get more knowledgeable about. There was a few of them out there, and I, like an idiot, I started out when I first started getting interested in SEO. I followed the people who seemed to have more notoriety, more followers, and talked more. And I found out that there's an awful lot of those people that don't know shit from Shinola.
Yeah, a lot of followers means they
Well,
fooled
I
a
mean,
few people who are really easy to fool.
people that had an agency and had spoken at several conferences and got mentioned and quoted a lot. Didn't take too long to find out that some of them were full of shit as a Christmas turkey.
Mm-hmm.
That's about the time that I started being more selective, and Ammon was one of the people. Of course, I didn't at first. It was kind of funny because I didn't at first recognize that was the Black Knight from CreateSite, and I started following Ammon, and I CreateSite. Oh, that was a gold mine. You know, there's some great discussions in there.
Yeah, I went there occasionally, but I was a moderator on I Help You. Someone had to keep the leash on. But I loved whenever Ammon come over there, him and I forget the other guy, his buddy, they could push his buttons like 90. Oh, it was just awesome to watch, like funny as hell. Yeah.
Ammon can push buttons on demand.
Oh, and he knew every one of those. Oh my, oh yeah. And delighted in doing it. That's what made it even more entertaining, was you could tell he was getting off doing it.
Terry, I want to go back to Lambda and Chat GPT for a minute, because you mentioned that they have, I don't even know the terminology, but that they work a little bit differently. And maybe if I tell you the reason why I want to go back, you'll figure it out. Because you were mentioning about how Lambda can go through and look at each word, right? And
That's the
identify it. I visualize it as this string of things going through, and it says word and categorizes word. And so,
well, it's not doing that at that level. That's at all it's doing is taking the words that matter and putting them into a bag, and then it goes into the bag with all the other words, pages that also have those words.
right. Okay. So
Okay.
that makes a lot of sense to me.
Okay.
And what I am seeing is one of the drawbacks with GPT is that it is a language facilitator. I mean, whatever it says in this lovely, understandable, coherent syntax, right?
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that it is true. And I'm going to mention, when Doc was mentioning earlier, I did an experiment the other day, and I asked it to write my bio. I mean, this person was unrecognizable to me. Absolutely, expert in AI, blah, blah, speaks at conferences, and I'm like, this is so much BS. But the thing is that if there were an equivalent something, an equivalent text generator, as it were, from Google, I don't think that would happen because Google already knows.
Bingo.
See, I have 2 knowledge panels with Google, and Google knows everything, just as you keep saying, Terry. So if there were something that Google provided, and we don't have it yet, but I'm sure they're working on it, you know, that could do that kind of generative work, that then we wouldn't have these plausible but unreliable answers to
Yeah.
the prompts.
2 things. I did the exact same thing only because I know there are multiple Terry Van Horns. I said, who is Terry Van Horn, aka Webmaster T, right?
Mhm.
Google, first result listed 4 of my previous occupation that
Yep.
I mentioned in a bio.
Yep.
GPT didn't know anything, couldn't
Yep,
identify
GPT
anybody
didn't know
by
anything
that
about
name.
me either. I mean, there was nothing in that fake
Right.
bio that was
Right.
me.
And
except my
there
name,
should be
you know.
lots about me.
But
up,
Google,
up
Google
till
knows. So
21.
that's what I'm saying, that, when Google says, okay, we got it, here's our AI answer, I think people are going to be, if they're mind boggled by GPT chat, they're going to be ultra
second-
mind boggled because the knowledge base is going to be more
Yeah.
detailed and solid. That's
The second advantage Google has, the knowledge graph. Semi-verified facts already.
Yep.
In fact, there's a GPT engine that uses OpenAI plus Google knowledge graph, which I'm having a look at it. I've been collecting resources. Now I'm starting to read and learn more. First, I gather as much information as I can. Then I'll spend a weekend and really get into it. And I also, my brother's installing, hopefully, Python as we speak onto my server. So I can do some NER, which is named entity retrieval, which is what Google is doing in that other thing in the cloud app I was talking about. And I'm pretty sure I should be able to do that myself on my own site and get the same information, except for probably a category, which I don't know their methodology on that, but everything else is simple named entity stuff and AI that they already that's already known. So yeah, it's
lots of interesting applications that can be thought of. One of the things that I was thinking, there are some things that Chat GPT cannot do worth the damn, but there are some things it's ideal for. And I'm kind of surprised I haven't seen anybody say that they've tried using it for competitive analysis yet. And to me, that should be pretty interesting, especially when it gets to the point where you can actually give it a target of URL. Then, check these 5 competitor sites and find out which keywords they're going for and which ones have more corroboration offsite. But you're going to have to be able to point it to specific resources to get to that point, I think.
Right, but Presently, as I understand it, OpenAI can only process small blocks of text at a time. To give it a page with 15,000 words, it wouldn't know whether to shit or wind its watch, I'm sure. And that's where it becomes super good for competitive analysis, because you could put 10 URLs into it and say, give me basically tell me, summarize these pages with noting their point of view and important details, something along those lines. And, you wouldn't have to read the page. You could just read the summary.
And that kind of thing, when you get to that point, that kind of thing is going to be handy for writers as well. I mean, it's basically going to do your research for you and give you all sorts of.
Wow.
Then you just have to try to sort out the crap.
Right. Well, consider if you had a program that could pull all the named entities that are in the top 10 results, and you started by writing your document knowing that that those words have to be in the page.
There's your outline. Yeah.
There's your freaking
That's
outline.
one of the
Then you
things
can
that-
tell it to write headlines based on the keywords in that block. Writing will be very simple for guys like me anyhow. I could never write with the ability that Zara has, but I just put facts anyhow. I don't care what it sounds like. I like to say I have a conversational approach.
So Phrase.io has been doing outlines and using Google's, I believe Google SERPs for that for over a year. They're using AI in the background to do that as well. Although I don't know what AI they're doing, but it's very good. And I have used Phrase.io quite a few times. I have an account there, and I use it occasionally and get through. And it's good. It's good for writing. It's very good for research when you're writing as well. And that is where I would see somebody like Google maybe selling their access into their system to companies to do front ends like that rather than do it themselves. But then they may do it themselves. But why would they want to run something like that? Or they'll run it for a year and then sunset it like they do everything else. But we're all right. I mean, Open Chat AI is limited up to 2021. So anything after that's not going to appear in it.
Yeah,
but you certainly can't do competitor research in there at the moment, because you can't. First thing I did when I got access to it was start testing URLs and using it like Phrase.io, and it won't do it. It wouldn't go out to the web and pick up stuff, etc. So it is a very small set. It's a huge set, but it's very small compared with what Google's got. So yeah, it's limited. But I think this year we're going to see a massive explosion in the whole area, and I can see why Dave Davis has gone off, left SEO and gone off there, because it's fascinating. One of the things I've been using over the last couple of weeks is an AI that's in GitHub called Git Pilot, and that helps me write code. And as I'm typing down the thing, it's seeing what I'm doing, and it'll chuck up in grey what it suggests I write next. So if I'm going through some CSS, it'll go, oh, perhaps you want this, and I just press the tab and it'll fill it in. And I'll go, no, that's not what I want, and just delete it. But most of the time, it's getting what I want. I was in my blog today for Markdown files. I put in a Markdown image, and then got to the second one, and it had learnt what I did in the first one. Because I called these images the title, the date title, and the number, so image 1, image 2, etc. They just come up for the next one. So like tab done.
Wow,
it's helpers like that. I can see it invading everywhere, because stuff like that is more machine learning and become useful.
Yeah,
the two are pretty closely linked, though. AI and machine learning.
Yeah, very much.
one of the things I like about InLinks is the SERPs they find in relationship to the topic, because with a link, right? So I can go and look at not just the title of whatever it is that that's related in the competitor site, but I can go and look at the competitor's article and see how they approach it. So, if they come up with 7 or 8 SERPs, and maybe 5 or 6 of those are, kind of looking like they're at the focus that I want to approach, I can go look at those articles and see how each one of those competitors presents the information, because they're all talking about the same topic, right?
Yeah.
And then think about what my approach
Yeah,
is
Well,
going.
especially if you can find a new approach,
right.
that's where real value comes into play.
The unique-
Exactly.
The
So that's why,
uniqueness.
to me, it's really helpful to see, well, these people approached it this way and this guy approached it that way, and
Often
so that's been done. Those are that's been done
Yeah.
SERPs, right?
don't need
So
any
then you can
more.
think about, well, what is the take that we want to put on this, topic that jillions of people write about. So I find that really helpful to look at what others not just what they've written, but how they approach it, which I think has a lot to do with where that unique value comes in, is when you bring in and you say, well, yeah, there's all this stuff about this topic, but let's look at it from this perspective. This is really simplified thinking, but let's look at it from this perspective and how it impacts your X, whatever that is, because then it has some kind of meaning. Like we were talking in the green room before we started, like, let's take outsourced marketing for small business. It's like, what is it that we can bring to the table that really sheds a new light on that, or sheds a light on a certain aspect of it, rather than just writing more stuff about outsourced marketing for small business. I mean, that's where I think as writers, that's part of our job, is to think about that. What's it called? Information gain. What is it that I'm bringing that's different to
And
the table?
Google's words for that are added value.
I like added value better. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's, that's within all of our understanding. Information gain is
Yeah, sounds way
uppity
techy,
for
doesn't
me.
it? Yeah, what
But
added
you know what I
value
like
is,
about
what added value is well, let's go back to what Google wants to see is value for the user when they come to a page, right?
the
And how helpful is it? It's a Google term, helpful. How helpful is it to the user? And if you're giving them something that makes them think of your topic in a different, new way, then that is Google word helpful.
Yeah, you know what I found when I looked at when I was using the cloud program for the named entity,
Yeah.
it also did sentiment at the sentence level. So I found that's how you understand how Google sees it, not how you as a human sees it, but how Google sees that point of
Oh, I
view
didn't think of that.
in the sentiment.
Yeah. Because
Which
then
I
you
believe-
can sentimentalize
I-
your
sorry.
text.
I believe AI will completely fail on British sarcasm.
Oh, any sarcasm.
Americans fail at that too, Simon, so. Canadians have a better handle on it, but we Yanks, we struggle with the satire and sarcasm. course, we probably think that we invented it too, so.
Uh, but
That's one
it's
of,
so
Have we lost her?
I think we froze there, Sarah.
Yeah, we did.
oh,
She's back now.
Skynet.
your internet connection is unstable. Oh man. Okay.
We can hear you.
Huh? All right. Hello.
Yeah,
I'm
right now.
unstable. But yeah, British humor is it is very understated.
Oh, it's always been funny to me to hear people say the British have no sense of humor. I said,
Yeah,
and
well,
you,
this is
sir, have no sense of perception.
yeah.
One of the things that I loved most about living for a while in Britain was the snark and sarcasm. You know,
It's everywhere.
a solid slap in the face and leave you with a smile.
Yeah. Yeah. Um,
And it's funny. I heard I had friends from London who said they would come down to Kent, and they said that the people down there in the south had no sense of humor. And I tell you, I had a professor there at Canterbury who was absolutely vicious, and he always left you thinking, or at least he left me thinking, you know, did he just diss me or not? You know. He liked taking cheap shots at Yanks.
I had a professor at UCLA, C. Page Smith, who actually went on to found UC Santa Cruz in the beginning when it was founded on the Oxford Cambridge model, not what it is now. And but anyway, he had a very understated sense of humor, and he came in one day and he was very tweedy, and he came in with his jacket and all, and it was like a week before the final or something. Like this is intellectual history of the United States. And he had this headband on with a light bulb sticking up out of the middle, to realize this is the late 50s, okay? And he's got this wire that comes down to this little battery pack in his jacket. And he said, I know that finals are approaching and you want to be able to, you know, note the important details of when I'm speaking. And he said, so the light bulb can help you. So every time the light bulb goes off, you know, then that's something that you may want to think about. Well, the only time the light bulb went off, which was frequent, was when he said something understated and, you know, sarcastic. And I swear to God, there were people in the class who would grab their pens and write in their notebook what he just said because the light bulb went off. And I was like, oh my God, they didn't get it. They did it just. Yeah. Oh, golly gee whiz. Anyway, one must think for oneself. It's always a safer deal. Did we freeze again?
I don't think so.
Everybody froze.
I think everybody but you and me.
Oh,
No, I'm
okay.
still here.
Oh,
Oh.
Simon's back. Okay.
Simon was just.
No, I
in.
didn't go. I just stopped moving.
No, I'm still here. I just forgot I had my microphone muted. Well, we're close to the top of the hour. Anybody got anything interesting, earth shaking they're planning on this week?
Earth shaking. Nope.
Not at all.
Terry, you're up. Earth shaking this week.
Yeah, I'm gonna do Chat GPT my style and change the internet.
Oh, one big thing. Yesterday, the guys that make Tweetbot, which is now shut down, you can't get onto Twitter with it anymore, all third-party apps. They've launched their Mastodon version called Ivory. And
Ivory.
Ivory. Got that yesterday, and it's a beautiful piece of an app, and it's just like Tweetbot, but I did suggest that they call it Tootbot, but it's lovely bit of kit. And we've seen a sudden influx of, again, a big wave of people coming onto Mastodon, I think simply because that they released that. There was another one released at the same time as well yesterday. But yes, that's interesting. And I've forgotten to go into have a look at anything on Twitter for the last 4 days, I think. And I'm very happy about it.
Yeah, for me, I like the hockey stuff as much as I do SEO. So
Maybe more so.
more so, I probably
Yeah, I
have
was
more
gonna say.
opinions about that than I do.
I was gonna say, Terry, you were really downplayed that one.
Yeah, that's true. I especially like getting on the journalists calling them Muppets. They don't like that.
No, I would imagine they wouldn't.
No.
Well, another week's come to an end here. Thanks everybody for showing up, and any viewers, if we have any, also. Our mindless meanderings that we sometimes go through, but we try to get a little bit of value out there now and then. Anyway, everybody have a great day, great week.